Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week, 3.6 gets ever closer to an open release. Todd talks about the new lore system and all things 3.6. Plus, we hear more regarding AI and the Karak. So before we begin, the current status of Alpha 3.6 is it's still with the Evocati group. It's currently up to patch 3.6.0i, and testing is focused on ship shields, missile damage, missile countermeasures, the hover mode, acceleration control, head tracking, the P-72 Archimedes, component degradation, ship purchasing, and pip accuracy and ship flight jitters. There is still no word as to when Wave 1 is coming, but Todd Pappy did mention that there are a couple of issues that they're trying to resolve before they open up testing to Wave 1. So hopefully it's not too long now. Make sure you do check out my weekly roadmap update for more updates regarding each patch and its progress. Hopefully it's going to be this week that we get to Wave 1. Obviously it is the end of the month now, so pressure is on. So on the final episode of Inside Star Citizen for this series, they first spoke about AI. They're working on usables and behavior setups primarily for vendors like bartenders and shopkeepers. They're also setting up templates for all various types of usables like beds, seats and consoles and so on. Usables, if you are wondering, are what the AI and players can interact with, be it a coffee cup or a kiosk or anything that's dotted around the environment. They're improving shopkeepers to make the AI more believable in the PU. We actually got to see the Master at Arms who is in Squadron 42's campaign. He is looking really nice and smooth. And if all the AI in Squadron 42 are going to behave like this guy, it'll be just incredible getting to know them all. Hopefully a lot of this will transition over to the PU as well. Whether they're that in-depth, I don't know.
In the PU.
What can I get you? Bearing P8 AR. Probably the most requested rifle I have. She's good, but with the right attachments can really shine. Of course, knowing which ones are the right ones is the quickest way to get into an argument with a Marine.
Now for combat AI, they're working on replacing some of the current prototype behaviors with modular behaviors. So every combat AI will use this behavior, but depending on the AI's class, they will choose certain tactics. So whether they are highly skilled, not skilled, or mercenary types. They're fixing the cover system and tactical point system, which is to help NPCs plan ahead and work out the best cover for the situation, or when their cover is compromised, they will move to find better cover. They've currently in the game got two base tactics, which are fight from cover and fight from open space. They say they cannot implement any more yet due to networking issues, but they want to polish these ones first before introducing new tactics anyway, so this could be something which needs this server-side object container streaming to help expand the universe. But as they say, fine-tuning what they have at the moment before they implement more is a tactic I think they're doing quite well this year. I know it seems boring on the roadmap, but getting everything more playable, more optimized is probably far more important at this time and place. Now for ship AI, they are working on 4 areas of ship AI. The first one is strafing, so the enemy AI can do orbital strafing maneuvers, flyby strafing, and breakaway strafing. So they will use it offensively and defensively, and hopefully this means they will stop jousting at us, but it does mean that they will become more adept and difficult to fight against. The second one they worked on is target selection, so sensibly distributing between all available targets based on certain factors like the distance to target, and the opponent's stats and health and so forth. The third one is self-preservation, so how long will they wait before breaking off while they're under fire, and I expect eventually making a run for it as well rather than just constantly fighting to the death. That will be interesting because they could run away and come back later, who knows. And the final one they've worked on is 3D pathfinding, which is basically navigating around the environment wherever you are. Now all this ship AI, combat AI, it is one thing that I'm really much looking forward to because obviously the majority of, or 90% of the population we will see in the finished game will be AI and NPCs, so getting them on a believable and challenging basis will be quite difficult, but I have every faith in CIG. Now, they spoke a little bit about 3.6 and what's coming up and their sort of favourite things. They did say there's a new junk site or salvage yard, which you might eventually be able to take a stolen ship and get it chopped up. Not for 3.6, this isn't confirmed, it was just speculation on their part, but for now, it'll be a good place to sell stolen boxes and goods that you've stolen from other players. Your actions, they say, will have consequences depending on what you do with this new law system. What's interesting is it's not just the UEE who govern the universe. Each individual planet and location will have their own set of laws, and these can vary between them, so knowing the laws as you travel around is going to be quite important. Now, the black market means over time you can collect and steal boxes from other players and sell them on for money. Hover mode makes low-speed atmospheric flight believable, dangerous, and more challenging to control. There are new comm changes as well, communication changes, which allow for ship hailing, changing your preferences within your Mobiglass, a new widget as well to see who's talking, plus an auto-join a ship channel when you enter a ship. So there's a ship-wide channel that only you inside the ship can hear, which is good, but early days, obviously this needs to be developed further for other problems that could arise. VoIP and FOIP is enabled by default, so if you do not want to use it, you'll have to deactivate it. But hopefully this works more consistently alongside the grouping system, so we can play more together during streams and during org meets, because that is pretty much what's stopping me from playing with other people, is it's just a ball ache trying to get everyone into the same group. Now, to finish off with, we've got to look at the Carrack. They're working currently now on the Carrack captain's quarters. You can see his desk is kind of makes precedence there. It is slightly raised to give the captain more of a presence to than his crew. But there are two panels behind him to allow the captain to share what he needs to share without the crew having to come around and all gather around his own screen. They've got a nicely lit glass ceiling. On one of the walls, either side of the door, there are bookshelves, but one of them will become a minibar. The bedroom has a bed, a locker, and a closet, and there's also a bathroom with a nice fresh design. You've got toilet, shower, and so forth. All looks very clean, very nice. Cannot wait to see the Carrack in all its glory. But anyway, to finish off with, they say, as usual on the release of 3.6, videos like Inside Star Citizen will take a short sort of 4-week, I think it was, hiatus, just to allow the devs to focus on the patch's aftermath, getting things fixed. It's very much all hands on deck after these releases go live, so there will be a little break from the video content, but don't worry, we'll have plenty to cover anyway. So that was Inside Star Citizen. Let's move on. So this week we also had a Todd Talk for Star Citizen Live, in which Todd Pappy just goes through some of the questions we have in regards to Alpha 3.6 and things that are coming in the future. Always a real good sit down because we get a lot of information. So the first question is, how do we clear a crime stat in 3.6? Now, Stanton, he says, is governed by the federal UEE jurisdiction, but each planet has their own state jurisdiction, like Hurston law or Microtech law, depending on where you are. If you commit a misdemeanor, then you'll need to deal with this and likely pay off a small fine to the local state law security. A federal crime may be able to be paid off, but there are different levels of criminality, and depending on what you do, will determine whether it's a misdemeanor or an actual proper crime. Now, you can still hack and get rid of your crime stat, but instead of having to constantly go to Station Korea, which was always a long-ass journey if you have to travel so many million kilometers to get there, but this time you can purchase a chip from somewhere in the PU. I think Grimhex is one of the options, and then go to any comm array and hack into the comm array using this chip, like a one-time use, to then remove it. He did say that you could pay off your fines at a kiosk, so maybe like the admin offices in the locations, the landing locations. I'm not sure if that's where it'll be, but we'll see. But this also applies to fines and bounties. Personally, I think this is going to make the crime system really interesting. Needing to purchase a physical item in order to hack your crime stat away should add a lot of gameplay to the game. Firstly, ensuring that you have this chip when you need them, but also imagine if you own a few of these chips, you could then start charging other people for them. If you have a box full and someone needs one quick, instead of having to travel to find one to buy one, he can just buy one off you, but you could ramp up the price. I really like this idea. I'll obviously try and give it a go in 3.6 and see how it works, but it's a nice step in the right direction for hacking, the law system, criminality system. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Someone asked, what's the difference between murder and self-defense? Now, if you are shooting first or dealing the most damage threshold instantly, then you will be viewed as the attacker. It does sound simple from the example that he gave us. There is a big list of things that determine this, and it'll obviously need to get ironed out as they go. So maybe to start with, it'll be a little too simple, and people will get a crime stat for silly reasons. But there is a larger amount of rules to how this will work, and it will be constantly balanced until it gets right, and we'll see how that progresses. Now, someone mentioned about the junkyard and whether or not this will be a place to sell stolen ships. It was mentioned in Inside Star Citizen, like we said, where you can take them to a chop shop. This is not intended to be the place to sell stolen ships. It is used to sell cargo and stolen goods that you buy that you can sell on like a fence. Whether or not we're able to chop up ships when we get there eventually, I don't know. Someone asked if they're going to continue having an armistice zone, and yes, they are, but they're going to work towards removing these, starting with Grim Hex by the sounds of things. So they'll need to figure out the security and how to enforce the law, like in way of fines or killing or disabling ships, and then they'll continue to spread that throughout the verse. Will the law system prevent trolling or pad camping? And they say, no, it cannot prevent it, but it can deter it. So again, the security system is needed, whether they shoot someone down, whether they capture someone or take out the offender. It isn't going to eradicate the verse of trolling, grieving, that sort of thing, but it will encourage people not to do it, and that's going to be continually developed as time goes on through other systems, like the persistence and death of a spaceman, for example. Someone asked what the punishment scales are on 3.6, and things like misdemeanors are sort of, if you bump someone with your ship, you get fined. If you kill someone, then this is a felony, and they'll send bounty hunters after you or security forces after you, and this includes real players coming after you as well. Can we sell cargo from stolen ships? Now, he doesn't know, actually, and he will find out. We should be able to, so if we can in 3.6, then eventually we should be able to. Someone asked, how will shopkeepers determine the difference between stolen goods and legitimate goods to trade? And they say, right now it's just an internal flag that pops up, tracks the item that you're selling, whether it's stolen or not. But eventually the shopkeeper interactions will involve being questioned by them or challenged, as to where you got the item from. For 3.6, there is no real interactions between the fences. It is going to be via a kiosk. What happens if we can't afford to pay the fine? It sounds like we will just get killed, but eventually you will go to jail when that system comes in. Next question. According to the new law system, who's to blame if someone is taking off from a hangar and accidentally hits someone else flying over the top? Now, Todd says, all being equal, the person taking off will be the one in trouble because they went directly into the person. So it sounds like you need to be aware of your surroundings, which is not easy, especially with some of the views from the ships, but it just means taking a bit more care. Obviously, there are a lot of edge cases. This is similar to the ramming question, and they will balance it as they go. Can we turn off comm arrays to stop crimes being pinned on yourself? And they say yes, missions will be spawned from you turning off a comm array, which becomes its own gameplay loop. So players will then come to turn it back on. They may find you there as a criminal and have to attack you. Now, I personally plan on playing legitimately and not breaking the laws as I go. But all of this really makes me want to try out the criminality side of things. I can imagine if you're planning a crime, somewhere in the verse, you could have a group of mates going around and turning off specific comm arrays in unison to allow you to commit a crime without it being noticed, which is really incredible. And I would like to try that out, maybe having a few friends dotted at certain comm arrays, and then just before I commit the crime, sending a notification to them saying, turn it off now, then I commit the crime. Then we get out of there and people have no idea what's going on, which would be really cool. Next question. Why aren't the salvage junkyards on the roadmap? Now, they don't add everything on the roadmap. Obviously, things have slipped from the roadmap, which everyone likes to point out. They like to complain that this is slipped, this isn't in. But no one seems to point out anything that was unexpected coming in, like the hacking chips, like ship communication channels, and these, obviously, the junkyards. Todd actually mentioned that there are things not on the 3.7 roadmap that they are working on that they want to keep hidden. Don't know what they could be, but obviously they like to give us a surprise. The roadmap is an intentional release schedule, but many other areas are still being explored and developed, so they don't know for certain if they can be achieved. So sometimes they don't achieve what they're trying to for unforeseen circumstances, but then sometimes they create something new. And like I say, we always point out what they don't make, but we never really give them kudos for what they do bring in that is unexpected. Next question is to do with the 3.6 space station interiors. Now, the interiors will be exactly as they are in 3.5. We can still explore them. The exterior is obviously different. They won't make sense to the interiors because they're not laid out properly. 3.7, when the interiors are created, they will then begin to marry up the exterior with the interior, and they should start making sense. For the station interiors in the future, they want to build the stations out so they have maintenance areas, gravity rooms, power plant rooms, basically all these utilitarian aspects that you would expect them to have. Also things like habitation for employees and social areas and shops for us to explore. For 3738, they are building them out in this way. These areas may or may not be accessible depending on the state of the station. For example, a derelict station will likely allow you to explore everywhere. For working stations, they will have security and, some places will be non-accessible because you're not allowed to go there. I do wonder if there will ever be a time when we can just take over the space station, kill or capture the security force, and hold the station as our own or at ransom, turning off things as we go. It'll be quite interesting to see if we get to do that. Now, someone asked about Port Olisar. Is it changing in 3.6? It is not. Port Olisar is a combination of the cargo depot and a rest stop. Todd sees it as more of a port for massive ships to pull up and unload their cargo, and then you can get the ferry down to Horizon. They want to get the cargo depot aspects working before they think about replacing it. I strongly feel that Port Olisar station should remain as it is, maybe become a museum or something that isn't used but still there, and then add a new Port Olisar using this cargo depot stuff later on. I feel that since it was the very first station we ever had, when the PU went live, it would be a big shame to just lose it forever. I know I'm not alone here, so do comment #SavePO below in the comment section if you feel the same, and we'll see if we can rally together and keep it alive. Anyway, next question is, will we ever get a compass or a coordinate system? Now, they say they can see a need and a desire for it. Most games just use X and Y, whereas Star Citizen you're dealing with XYZ, planet rotation, orbits. These are just some of the issues that need to be resolved before they tackle the idea of compasses. Personally, it's obviously a very important thing that we will need, but they need to work these issues out first. I highly expect it's not as simple as just throwing in a compass, so we'll see. Todd did say that right now they're working on scanning, balancing the ship combat, bringing in the power and the systems. These are currently the main systems they want to focus on before they move on to anything like coordinates. Someone asked about the harvestable entities in 3.6, what will it bring? And basically 3.6, it involves mining, so it's not really going to be that much seen. The tech can basically spawn anything from a rack of guns to plants with fruits on, like an orchard, things in caves, or even ships like derelicts, which spawn things inside that the players can steal. This obviously plays into farming, so eventually harvesting an orchard of fruit, boxing it up, and then taking that to be sold is something I'm looking forward to. This is way down the line, but as they start developing these individual tech pieces, they slowly get there where the whole system can be combined to create that specific type of gameplay. Next question is, will we ever see mineable rocks appear in plausible locations? For example, minerals always found at the rim of craters and so forth. Now currently there is no real control over how things are spawned. It's basically just based on probabilities in that particular biome. Todd did make a note about this, and we will see if he can add something like this into the future. Someone asked a very important question about improvements to the grouping system. Now, they're trying to hit 7 points for the comm system, specifically with 3.6. It is ship hailing, video calls, ship channels, VoIP chat, Mobi-Glass channel preferences, an audio widget, and invite to party to global proximity channels. These are the 7 features they want for 3.6. Apparently it's only just gone into the Evocati build, so no idea if it's working yet, but hopefully the grouping system works a bit smoother. Will we see a logical approach for trading and commodities, like a supply and demand between locations? And they say yes, this is constantly being developed. Not so much for 3.6, but future ideas will have different influences, so manufacturing plants requiring commodities, meaning that the price for those commodities go up compared to somewhere else. This is when you'll really be able to see the variation in the economy gameplay. Someone asked what determines the ship prices. Obviously with 3.6 we're getting the ship kiosk where you can go and buy ships. Now we should expect them to change a lot over development even within 3.6. But they are priced basically by breaking down the ship based on their hull, the items, the components, very much recipe based values. This isn't the only method of pricing. Ships hold intrinsic values based on manufacturer and rarity. They are priced accordingly to encourage a level of exclusivity. So, for example, Drake versus Origin. It doesn't mean that Origin are generally twice as good as a Drake ship, but their price is twice as much. Very much like the real world, but the goal is to get as much of this in for the ships in 3.6 and then get the rest in for 3.7. But as I say, the prices will vary over the course of development, so don't take anything for gospel just yet. What weapon attachments will we see in 3.6? Now they say there's 4 different types of attachments for now, but for 3.6 they're focused on optics, so sights, scopes, those sort of things. After that it'll be barrel, underbarrel, magazines, things like flashlights, grips and lasers. But it'll be nice to see what types of optics we get. I'm very much looking forward to customizing my weapons. Next question is, will NPCs respond to player combat assist beacons if players do not? And they say not for 3.6, but in the future, yes. Are there any changes or additions to missions in 3.6 to enhance mission gameplay? That's a good question. He says the hacking system is one thing, but missions will spawn in the local areas that you're in, not millions of kilometers away, so you don't have to travel massive distances just to complete simple missions. There's also a lot of fixes and a lot of quality of life improvements and updates as well. Someone asked what the player free look is. So this refers to if you've got your weapon drawn, you can move your head independently from where the weapon is aiming, and then if you want to aim down sights, you can press your right mouse button and actually aim, just giving you a bit more situational awareness. Also the jump mechanic, there are improvements to this, so cleaning up the jump and the fall animation assets, which making them blend together more smoothly so they transition from jumping to whatever the next action is that you're trying to do, instead of it finishing the animation and then jerking into the new animation. Next question, what determines what weapons come out each patch? Now they've got a massive weapons matrix list. When they're establishing a weapon manufacturer, they determine what weapon types each manufacturer has. Like, do they have pistols, shotguns, sniper rifles, that sort of thing. They then concept the weapon family and begin to build them out. As new damage type tech comes online, we will see more various weapons coming online as well. Jared did say we will have a weapon design segment sometime in the future, because it would be amazing to see the weapon matrix list and see what plans they have, so I'll look forward to that one. How will ship renting work? Now they say the idea is similar to ship purchasing, but it will be for a limited amount of time. They're working out the rental length to find a sweet spot. You know, is it 1 day rentals, 3 days, 7 days? They might be the first durations, possibly even up to 30 days. But if the ship blows up, then you can reclaim it and just get it back. That might be more short term. Some of the edge cases they're still needing to work through though, like if you've got cargo on board when the rental timer runs out, what happens? Obviously the prices won't be the same as what we see in the shops for buying them. They will be a percentage of maybe the purchase price, depending on how long you intend to rent them for. Someone asked if server-side OCS or object container streaming is coming in 3.6, and he says no, it is not coming in 3.6, but it's always work going on behind the scenes. It affects many feature teams, and the trouble at the moment is, let's say for example the mining feature requires pretty much no server-side OCS work, whereas the ship feature team may have a fair amount of server-side OCS work needed. They go through each team and then convert them as they go. So many areas are still needing to be converted to work with server-side object container streaming, and they're just going through them as they go and trying to get them all up to date. hopefully it won't take too much time, because obviously a lot of things are being held up because of this, because they just cannot expand the universe anymore until they get it in as within reason. Now, someone asked quite a specific question, which is good. Erin said that this year we should see more coming in rather than getting pushed back. Why are we seeing delays and pushbacks? Now, they say the roadmap is the best case possible for the features that they want to achieve. Many things are obviously unforeseen. One of the 3.6 features was coming in late, literally due to a developer getting sick and needing time off. That is one of the reasons why one of the features is being pushed to a 3.6 point something build. They don't like that, this is the second patch in a row which is coming late and having to go through an interim patch. But the alternative is the old method where releases were feature driven, not date driven, and we end up waiting for everything to be ready until all features are ready, rather than just releasing what they have. So it still is better than having to wait for feature driven stuff, but unfortunately things happen and it can't be foreseen. Anyway, that was a long ass TED talk. Really good information there. Do let me know your thoughts, guys. Very much looking forward to 3.6. Let's move on. So also this week, part 2 of One Last Job is released. CitizenCon tickets went on sale and I finally managed to pick one up after abusing my F5 key. And finally, the latest jump point is available for all RSI subscribers. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help me make it better, follow the link below to my Patreon page to learn more.